What's up, people? All right, let me check my settings here while nobody's on. All right, can't figure out where my microphone settings at, so hopefully I'm coming through on the right microphone. Let's start off with sharing the screen. I talk about some self-defense videos. So there's quite a few channels that do this, that review self-defense videos, and a lot of them focus on the things that you should have done. Next time this happens, this is what this person should have done, or they talk about it in terms of legal stuff. Is this justified? Is this not justified? And that's not really the way that I look at these videos. It's not really the way we look at them. Guns for Everyone. The way that we review these videos is to look at the things that are probable and to look at the way that the body reacts to an ambush and use that as an understanding of how we should form training around self-defense. So I'm going to give this a couple more minutes. Let's see if anybody shows up. It's the middle of the day on Friday, so people are probably working, but it is a holiday weekend, which is why I'm not working. I'm off early today. So yeah, let's see here. Hopefully, you guys can see this. Actually, let me do this. Let me confirm by going on my phone and making sure that I can see that the video is playing. There we go. All right. So hopefully you guys have some plans, some fun plans for the weekend to celebrate Labor Day, whatever that means, celebrating a holiday that is based on theft. All right, so what are we doing here? Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, apologies for the dead air. I'm just making sure that the stream is actually showing the shared video, because for some reason YouTube, for as much as that is worth, is a little bit sketchy when it comes to. Okay, all right, cool, it's showing. All right, we're going to skip this video because people have been beating this one to death, and it actually doesn't offer us a lot of the information that we're interested in. So hopefully I don't get this stream pulled for showing this stuff. It's a little sketchy with the stream. They're kind of quick to pull your stream for a bunch of different reasons. So let's see. Oh, this is the Alaska one. We're going to skip this one because I think I've got a better clip of that one somewhere else. Maybe. All right. All right. So this one has been around for a little bit. This is oh, hey, Joseph. This is some kind of a shop owner who's been robbed a couple times and apparently decided he was going to sleep in his business to catch the robbers, or he actually already sleeps in the business. That's actually what happened to Edgar. We weren't concerned about theft. Edgar was just using the gun store as a residence for a little while and was surprised in the middle of the night by a smash and grab. So this guy is using a shotgun, and I'm not going to play the video. I'm just going to click to different scenes so I can avoid maybe getting booted off the live. So he confronts this attacker who's broken the door. He confronts him with a shotgun, and let's try to find. Here he comes. Oh, this is a nice look. No shirt, pants around his ass, shooting a shotgun. Apparently, according to available information, this dude was shooting at somebody with birdshot. And when we talk about self-defense and we talk about effective than what is efficient. The definition of an effective firearm for self-defense is one that is operable, one that is safe enough for the context, and one that is accessible when it's needed. So according to the video, this firearm is effective. It's operable. He does fire. It is safe enough, assuming that he didn't store this thing in an unsafe manner, which there's no way of knowing, but it was accessible. So when the time came to use it, he had it. So effective, yes. The gun's job is to fire ammunition. Efficient at accomplishing the task of stopping the threat, well, it didn't. He shot the bad guy with this shotgun, and the bad guy actually was able to return fire even though he'd been hit with birdshot. So we get to like right about here in the video. Initially he was scared off by this threat, but then he decided he was going to come back, and he starts shooting, including, I'm not going to play the video, but he is running away and firing behind him. Now, as far as I understand, our shop owner here was not hit. But even though the shop owner was using a relatively powerful weapon, a shotgun, our bad guy was able to return fire as he was fleeing. And unaimed return fire is still dangerous and could cause death, could cause injury. And our guy here was lucky that he was not hit, even though the guy is shooting without looking at these closer ranges. Thanks for dropping in, Joseph. Hopefully you catch you on the next one. So even though unaimed fire is less likely to hit you at these distances, the body has an incredible ability to orient the tool towards the direction of the threat. And for our bad guy, the direction of the threat is the good guy with the gun. So he's shooting as he's running away. And let's see, I think this is a different camera. Oh, it goes all smoky in here. Yeah, first shot. We see that natural alignment. This is one of the reasons why we teach this in our classes. You could think of the bad guy in this moment as the defender. And I don't mean that morally, and I don't mean that legally. I mean in that counter ambush, oh shit, I'm being shot at. What do I do? I return fire. And you see that he's got, even though the gun is one-handed, he's got the arm totally outstretched. And he's looking in the direction that he's going to go. But if he was looking in the direction of where he was shooting, you could see that his arm he'd be attempting here to align. I can't get a bigger view of this. Yeah, I can. This arm and the gun is aligned with his head. And so that's that intuitive movement with the tool, is to align the gun with the line of sight. So apparently he shot back 5 times. Jesus, that's pretty scary. Oh, here's another thing we see. As soon as he gets shot at, we see him going into this crouched position, which is it's that body's natural reaction to what it perceives as a life-threatening stimulus, which was getting shot with a shotgun. So he goes into this crouch before he responds with his own action. And then as he's fleeing, he is returning fire. Okay. Woo! There's birdshot all over that door right there. So this reaction, if you've trained in the combat focused shooting or the intuitive defensive shooting, one of the things that's trained even in that beginner level class is to go from a position of I don't know there's any kind of danger to, on the command, the up command, you go into a protective posture, and that is supposed to connect the protective posture to the next useful thing to do, which is to orient towards the threat and to respond to the threat in the most appropriate way possible. So, and that's what we see him do. He goes from that protective posture to the aggressive posture and to the position of advantage for himself, which is in his mind, his awareness of this store is that there's one way out. And so he is going to return to that place where his brain knows or believes that safety is. So we see him running away. And then, oh man, bullet holes all over this guy's store. Bullet hit the floor. You see how random these shots are. Bullet hit the floor. Then we have bullet in the ceiling. Then we have bullet in the wall. Fortunately, we don't have bullet in Roger. So yeah. This is why we try to pay attention to this stuff, because we want to be able to train according to what is natural and what is what works well with what the body does naturally, and what works well with what is intuitive in a fight. And this is yet another example of that. Going back for a minute to the jewelry store robbery.
A shocking robbery.
A shocking robbery. Shocking. It's not shocking if you understand criminals. It's not shocking at all. Okay, so we have a bunch of criminals who are trying to break into this jewelry store, and our jewelry store owner, actually two people in the store, arm themselves, and one of them fires a warning shot. I think he fires a warning shot at the door because, according to him, he knew the door was bulletproof, which seems kind of silly to me. Like, I'm sure that was expensive. Maybe not as expensive as getting robbed. So all these people here are in that ambush position, right? They're trying to break in, and at the moment the store owner fires, let's see if we can just capture that moment here. We see that same reaction, which is the crouch into a defensive posture, and then immediate movement towards escape. These people were not planning on being counter ambushed. They were planning on doing what they were going to do without fear of getting shot. And once they got shot at, you see the reaction of every one of these people is essentially the same: protective posture, turn, and escape. And the reason we're pointing this out is because this is what the body tends to do when it perceives a surprising threat. Not all threats. If I knew it was going to happen, my reaction is going to be very different. But a surprising threat tends to elicit the same response. So, and we see all of them acted the same way. So that's another example. Let's go to so we have this one. This is a homeowner kills alleged burglar in Phoenix, and they get a lawyer in the video. Let me see if I can find him. This guy looks like a typical smarmy lawyer. Called 911. Okay, so 911 calls are recorded. So let's talk for a second about recording. I've seen a lot of people talking about dash cams. And in the classes that we teach, we get a lot of people saying, that's why you have a dash cam, that's why you have a dash cam, or that's why you have a Ring doorbell. Cameras work both ways. And there are instances of people doing shit on camera that puts them in the position of being the initial aggressor, even if they don't believe that they were the initial aggressor. They are putting, when you hand over that video to law enforcement, they're going to look at the whole video. They're not going to look just at the one part that you want them to look at. And this goes for 911 calls too. And it's not that you shouldn't have video, but you need to understand that video represents its own level of risk, that the video can capture things that you don't remember happening. And if you say something on the video, or if you say something about what you did that conflicts with the video, you very well could be putting yourself in a position where you have conflicting statements. Your statements conflict with the physical evidence or the video evidence. So that could be a problem for you. And also, you could do things that, you're not even realizing that you're doing, that are stepping over a legal line. Generally speaking, you're going to want your lawyer to be the one that controls access to the video evidence. You want your lawyer to be the one that, if possible, you want your lawyer to be the first one that sees that video to start to explain what happened in terms of what the video shows versus what you're about to say happened. That doesn't mean there's going to be lying going on. It just means the lawyer can help you frame your statements in a way that doesn't conflict with the video or helps to the law enforcement or the district attorney to better understand what they're seeing in the video. So 911 calls, you don't have any control over that. The 911 call is going to be accessible by law enforcement and the prosecution without any of your help. So, but anything that's recorded has the potential to put you in a bad position. And, you know, we all like to believe that we're not going to be the ones that did anything wrong. You know, I was justified. I'm a sane, sober, moral, prudent, blah, 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 all that shit. You know what? People get upset. People end up in self-defense situations. They get upset. The situations I found myself in the course of my life where I used violence or considered using violence, I was generally speaking upset. And that doesn't mean I was wrong. It just means that I may not be in the same mindset that I am when I'm sitting in a concealed carry class talking about what's legal or what's not legal, or sitting here on a video talking about what's legal or not legal. The threatening element of a self-defense incident can solicit quite a stark reaction, something that you didn't anticipate. And having that on video may not help you very much in the courtroom. I'm not saying you shouldn't have video. A lot of times video does help the situation, but particularly in road rage incidents, it is almost always the case that the victim in the road rage incident did something with their car that could be interpreted as you being an initial aggressor. Just be aware of that. The dash cam is not a get out of jail free card. The doorbell camera is not a get out of jail free card. The 911 call is not a get out of jail free card. It probably will help you if you controlled yourself in the interaction. It very well still could hurt you, even if you controlled yourself in the interaction. And this is why you want your lawyer to be the one that negotiates how the information reaches law enforcement, how the information reaches the prosecutor's office. So, all right. So he says calls recorded. So he's talking to 911, expressing the fear that he felt because of this intruder in his house. Expressing fear is kind of the same thing as the video. Let's say, let's just use a hypothetical. You're sitting in your living room, you're in your boxers, you got your shotgun next to you, and you hear somebody banging on the door. And let's say it's a neighbor, and they're pissed off that you're playing your music too loud. And you're like, well, if they come in here without my permission, I can shoot them. So let me call 911 and make sure all of this is recorded. So when 911 answers the phone and you're like, yeah, my neighbor's banging on my door and I want everybody to know I'm afraid. And then the neighbor, you open the door and the neighbor comes in and you shoot him. That might not look the way you think it's going to look. A lot of times this expression of fear that happens on 911 calls is somebody crying, is somebody panicked, breathing heavy, asking 911 what they should do, saying that they're afraid because, like, you know, they're expressing that to 911 that they want law enforcement there as quickly as possible because they're afraid of what's about to happen. That's a natural expression of fear. Don't try to game the 911 call into I am afraid so that the jury hears that I'm afraid so that I don't have any problem afterwards when I shoot this person because that's all I want to do because I have a small PP and I just want to shoot somebody. So, so calling 911 helpful. Also calling 911 starts the emergency response so that maybe you won't have to be the one that deals with this. Maybe you get to outsource your violence to the police and they get to come and handle this. So lots of great reasons to call 911, but don't try to game the 911 call as some way of covering your ass for the legal aftermath. Okay. So 911 operator is very often going to be asking you multiple times what's happening. So oftentimes on the 911 call is a play-by-play of everything that's going on. which can, again, be beneficial to you. All right. So he's saying he had small children in the house. So when the police look at this and decide whether or not to file charges, it helps a great deal. Police deciding to file charges. I say this in my classes all the time. This always comes down to what a jury is likely to think about a case like this. So a police officer deciding not to file charges, meaning not to arrest you and detain you and write up, reasonable suspicion about your actions, or even the prosecutor coming days or weeks later and reviewing the investigation and saying, okay, we're going to file charges or not file charges. It all comes down to what they think a jury is likely to say about this case. So even in a home defense case in a castle state, which all states in the United States have castle laws, even in these situations, even in Colorado, which has one of the strongest castle laws in the entire country, still recommend that you get a lawyer for the aftermath, especially if you used a firearm. Yeah, that's a good point, because they're recording the conversation and that can be used as evidence. We are not calling 911 in order to provide evidence for the legal case. We're not doing anything in the self-defense incident for the legal case afterwards. Everything you do in this self-defense moment, in this critical incident, should be done in order to improve your chances of surviving what's happening, not to try to satisfy some nebulous legal requirement that you really don't understand. Are you going to think through that 911 call while somebody's trying to hurt your family about the things that you should or shouldn't say to the 911 operator? No. You're calling 911 so that you can get help to the scene. If it does end up helping you later in the investigation, that's awesome. But that's not the reason why we call 911. We call 911 to get the help to the scene as quickly as possible. And if you can do that before the violence happens, then do that before the violence happens. And if the violence becomes unnecessary, then you win. You win that encounter. If somebody breaks into your house and you barricade you and your family into the master bedroom and you arm yourself and you call 911 and the cops get there, even if this guy trashed your house, if the cops get there and they deal with him and you and your family are unharmed by this, you win. So let the police take the risk if they can get there in time. That's why we call 911. This is the problem I have with like anybody using lawyers to break down self-defense incidents, because people blur the lines between what is legal or not legal, or what they think is legal or not legal, versus what people should do to protect themselves in the moment. So the lawyer's saying, yeah, calling 911 was a great idea, but he's saying that from the legal perspective. He has not said that at all so far about from the self-defense perspective, from the protecting the people perspective. All right, so let's see. What are our rights as homeowners? Blah, blah, blah. Who gives a shit? So the lawyer's trying to answer the questions about what you can lawfully do. And that's not the way we approach this problem. We approach this problem as there is risk involved. There's risk if I fight this person in the living room. There's risk if I fight them in the bedroom. There's physical risk. And later on, there is legal risk too. But the physical risk is the focus in the moment. So if I confront an intruder in my living room when I could have barricaded in a bedroom, I'm taking on more risk than I need to take on. If I can't get to a barricaded position and I have to fight in the living room, then that wasn't an option. Then reducing the risk was not an option. I don't care what the law says about him being in my home and I get to be Dirty Harry and, I get to be like some kind of purge defender where I can tie this dude up and burn him with cigarettes, etc. I don't care about any of that stuff. I care about what do I need to do to protect my family from this unknown attacker in this dynamic critical incident that is surprising, that is chaotic, that is threatening. So the lawyers going on and about the line, the rules, and blah, 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 blah. That stuff is important to your attorney after this is over, so that your attorney can help you navigate the legal outcome the best way possible. And in your home, you do have a lot of the legal odds stacked in your favor, and that's great. That's a benefit. That's one of the it's one of the benefits of living in a Western civilization that has developed the rule of law over the last 3,000 years and has developed the idea that you are a sovereign person who has rights to defend yourself from attackers. But that's not why we don't use the legal justification of castle law to make decisions about self-defense. All right, so once they enter the home, you can shoot them in Arizona. Self-defense requires that you fear for your life. So here we have, I'm pretty sure that Arizona does not require that you fear for your life in order for castle law to be in effect. Let's go look. Let's just do this real quick. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute while I look. No, I'll leave that up. So I'm going to just look. You know what? Let's go share a different screen. Let's share the search screen. Oh my God, I got way too many tabs open. Jeez. Oh, there it is. Okay. Arizona Home Defense Law. Let's go read it. Fine law, Arizona Legislature, 1304, justification, self-defense. Except as provided in subsection B of this section, a person is justified in threatening or using physical force against another when and to the extent a reasonable person would believe that physical force is immediately necessary to protect himself against the other's use or attempted use of unlawful physical force. Okay, so this is physical force, verbal provocation, resist arrest. This is just physical force. This is not home defense. So I bet you it's 1304.1 or something like that. Let's go here and see if it's got the statute. Yes, it does. Revised statute 13.4.11. Okay, that's arson, that's burglary, that's kidnapping, sexual, no duty to retreat. The section includes the use or threatened use of physical force or deadly force in a person's home, residence, place of business, land the person owns or leases, conveyance of any kind, or any other place in the state where the person has a right to be. Okay. So I know it looks like it's not showing on the stream right now. So just let me go back to not sharing because that was stupid. So okay, this is at now it started working and then I quit it. All right, so okay. 13.4.11a, a person is justified in threatening or using both physical force and deadly force against another if and to the extent the person reasonably believes that the physical force or deadly physical force is immediately necessary to prevent the other's commission of arson of an occupied structure, burglary in the second or first degree, which usually implies a threat of some kind, kidnapping under 1304, manslaughter, second or first degree murder, sexual conduct with a minor, sexual assault under, now I can't, maybe my stream is going to get cut short because I'm reading the Arizona law. Armed robbery, aggravated assault. Okay, so this looks like justification for use of force, not home defense, even though it mentions the home. That's the standard ground law. Oh, here we go, 13.4.05. Nope. Okay. I'm trying to prove that you do not have to have a deadly threat in order for home defense to be, or castle law to be invoked. But I'm having a hard time finding it. Unjustified. Okay. Well, I'm not going to look closely enough at that right now to make that point. But in Colorado, just as an example, Colorado 18-170.4.5 talks about the justification for use of deadly force in your dwelling if there is any threat or even the reasonable belief of a threat. And the specific quote from 18-170.4.5 is no matter how slight, meaning that there is no threshold of violence that must be met for deadly force to be justified in the state of Colorado inside of the home or inside of the dwelling. Okay, so I think that this lawyer is actually misstating, and here he makes the comment that, you know, if this happened in the backyard, he wouldn't be covered under the same law. But Arizona Stand Your Ground law does include your property, not just your home. So credible fear. Credible is another word for reasonable, for the safety of his children. Then that's a self-defense. There is no stand your ground there. There's a version of stand your ground in Arizona where you don't have to retreat. So just kind of a word on stand your ground. Stand your ground is a pretty complex legal concept, and it can be argued a number of ways, both by the defense and by the prosecution. It's open to some extraordinary interpretations and legal processes. It's really important that you understand this is stuff that lawyers study for years in order to be proficient at to argue in court. And the same goes for the prosecutor. You are not going to be able to learn and comprehend what stand your ground means from a legal perspective. You got the YouTube University version of stand your ground law, which is absolute dog shit. This was one of the reasons why we don't use the law to dictate our behavior when it comes to self-defense. You should understand that anytime you use violence against another person, you are opening yourself up to criminal charges. And if you use a firearm to commit violence against another person, you are opening yourself to automatic felony level charges. That doesn't mean you will be charged. It means it's possible in any violent encounter that you will be charged. So don't do it unless you have to. Don't use the law to dictate whether or not you think you should do something or shouldn't do something. Use the risk of going to prison as a reason to avoid these situations unless and until they become absolutely necessary. So this lawyer is talking about stand your ground law in Arizona, but there's no way, especially in a news clip that's being played on an afternoon on Fox 10 in Phoenix, that you're going to be able to take from that information useful legal advice on how to behave when it comes to self-defense. All right, so he's talking about stop somebody from entering in your house. The newscaster asks, does it matter what happened to use? Does it matter what weapon you use to defend yourself? And the lawyer says, yeah, it does depend. But we're talking level of charges here and level of proportionality, which is what the lawyer says here. If you are defending your life, you don't care about this stuff. If you're defending your life, your job is to efficiently use the tools at hand to protect the life. A firearm is a very efficient tool at self-defense. And it's a tool that is dangerous, but has benefits to it. And if used properly, those benefits outweigh the risk of the tool. And the tool is a very efficient way to stop an attacker or multiple attackers. That's why we use handguns. That's why we use rifles. That's why we use shotguns. We don't use them because the law says in this situation you can use one, in that situation you can't. If you're in a situation where you're not defending your life, you shouldn't be using a firearm. If you're in a situation where you're not defending the things that are worth going to prison for, don't use a gun. If you're in a position where you can't use a gun, then you're left with some other types of weapons, impact weapons, distance weapons like pepper spray and things like that. But this lawyer is talking about the difference between proportionality, et cetera, et cetera. When you're defending life, you don't care about proportionality. If you believe your life is in danger, you use the most efficient tool to stop that threat. And a firearm, generally speaking, in the United States is an accessible, efficient tool to use to defend your life. All right, let's see what else this guy has to say. This guy's talking. This is another thing that lawyers tend to do, is they come up with like half-assed scenarios. Well, let's say you're on the street and somebody punches you, and then you shoot them, like you're going to go to jail. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's so much nuance in self-defense, and there's so much room for the chaos that happens in self-defense, that to sit there on the news and say that if you get somebody punches you and you shoot them, you're going to jail, that is not necessarily true. It doesn't mean that you should shoot anyone who punches you. It means that trying to use a legal justification for understanding how we defend ourselves is bullshit. It's not possible, and nor is it advisable, even if you have a lawyer who gets attacked. You think the lawyer is going to go through all the different case law that he's aware of and thinking like, well, this prosecutor's probably going to throw me in jail? No, the lawyer, if he's really being attacked, the lawyer's only job in that moment is to defend against that attack and not try to solve the complex legal aftermath while the incident is happening. Okay, so let's see what else. I recognize, by the way, that this is not showing up on the stream right now, and it's pissing me off. YouTube is pissing me off. Let me see if I can refresh this and see if it comes back. Yeah, okay. I don't know. If anybody has any tips on YouTube streaming, I'm going to go ahead and kill this screen share and just continue to talk. Okay. This lawyer says the homeowner was justified in using force to stop this threat in this particular case. He has no way of knowing that because the case is not over. If this was a homicide, this case is never technically over unless we get a not guilty verdict or a guilty verdict. I'll say lawyers like to be on TV, and I think a lawyer that says what the news channel wants them to say is probably going to end up on TV. But this is not good. This is not good lawyering here, because he's not giving any nuance. He's just going for the easy answers and saying that he believes that this homeowner was justified. His opinion doesn't matter in this case. His opinion will never matter in this case unless and until he becomes the attorney that is representing the homeowner in this case. All right. So, and of course, we get the plug at the end. This newscaster says, if anybody wants to consult with you, and this is a quote, of course, your wealth of knowledge, how can people find you? And so he gets to plug himself, and people love that. I love that. I've been on the news. It's great getting to plug your plug your company on the news. It's a nice benefit. Unfortunately, the news channel will only do that so many times before they expect you to start buying ad space, ad time on the news channel. And then if you don't, then they stop calling. So, all right, I'm going to try to stream this again. I'm going to try to pull up the screen share again. And I'm not sure if I will keep this up because the stream's already gone for the night. We're going on a half an hour. I think that might be long enough. But I'm going to see if there's a better video out here of interesting defensive gun uses. That one will take way too much time to review. And the stream is not working. I wonder if the screen share only works well once, and then if you change, it's working. So, all right. I killed the screen share again. Go back to the live streaming, see how long it takes to catch up. All right. Well, I appreciate anybody who did spend some time watching this. I can't really make this a regular thing. I have too much on my plate, but anytime I can do it, I do want to start reviewing these videos and the legal stuff in lives so that if anybody has questions, you have an opportunity to ask them. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Gunsforeveryone.com, gfenational.com for our classes and our instructor development, the other things that we do. Over my shoulder, you can see walkthetalkamerica.org. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and I strongly encourage that you go check out WTTA.org, a wealth of knowledge and resources for suicide prevention for gun owners, a trustworthy source. So, all right, thanks everybody. I will catch you guys all on the flip side.